So if you don't know, I recently released some new music. It's under the name Detra Cortina, and in my opinion, it's some of the best stuff that I've not only written and composed, structurally, song-wise, but also mix-wise and guitar tone-wise. So what we're going to do today is dive into how I got the sounds of those guitars on that EP. It's called Take Time, available everywhere music is streamed. Links are down below. I would really appreciate it if you checked it out. Again, it's called Detra Cortina. The EP is Take Time, but I'm not going to take any more of your time. Shit, dude. So good. Let's dive into the mix and see what we did, shall we? So, this is the opening track of the EP, and let's listen to a chunk, shall we? Cool. So the first thing we got to do is kind of start, from the top, if you will. We got to kind of reverse engineer it. A lot of you guys who follow me know I've adopted this at times controversial method called top-down mixing. Basically, as I begin the mix process, or as people begin the mix process, you have a certain amount of processing already happening to your two bus, to your stereo bus, to your main stereo out. So we're going to go over that real quick. First thing I have is a gain reduction tool. It's a PreSonus. It's called Mix Tool. I'm bringing the whole mix down 6 dB. And then I'm running into the Fab Pro Q3, and I have some EQ moves here. Again, I have videos on this, and this isn't about this particular settings, but this is what I have going on here. Then I go into the virtual, the FG Gray, my Slate Digital. This is the bus compressor. And then we're running into the virtual tape machine. Pretty typical, pretty standard stuff if you followed me at all. I did end up doing a little bit extra because, I don't know, try to improve. I have the Fresh Air plugin, not really doing anything. And we can A/B that. I think I put it on initially to see if I could brighten things up. Turned out I didn't use it, looks like. Then I have the Pro MB with this six band kind of, it's just kissing it, and we'll go over that as well. Here, let's see what this is actually doing. Well, let me go through everything first. Change my mind. Then a little bit more EQ. I have a little bit of a bump in the low end, also rolling off some of the lows, and then a couple whistly frequencies. Running into Soothe to kind of tame what I feel like ended up mostly being cymbals, but I put it on the whole mix, and it felt right. And then Flatline is the limiter I'm using. So let's turn this stuff off and see what it's doing, right? I'm going to leave the limiter on because, it's just going to get quiet. We'll add the effects. Now, adding the compressor to the guitars isn't going to really do much, but for the sake of transparency, I'll show you. getting a little bit of gain. I'll add the tape. Adding some significant body to it. Again, I'll turn it on. I don't think it's doing anything. Not doing anything. Multiband. Kind of bringing it up front a little bit more. We'll add this other secondary EQ. You can kind of hear those whistles kick in as I bypassed it. We'll see what Soothe is doing. I turned it on and then I have it bypassed. It's taming some of that unpleasant high end, so it is doing something pretty substantial. That's good. And then the limiter. So that's what I mixed into. Now let's go over what I did on these guitars, all right? So if we solo this single guitar, what I have going on the individual guitar tracks is a Pro EQ and then Pro MB to kind of handle the low end palm mutes. So let's see what that's doing. So we'll start with them off and then I'll add them. I lied. I have this on already and I'll bypass. So let's bypass these, okay? So what is that doing? And now I'll add the Pro MB, which is going to control the palm mutes, the low end and the palm mutes. Now, if you're listening on your phone, first of all, you're an asshole. Secondly, you're not going to be able to hear these nuances, these subtle differences. All these changes add up, containing and controlling the low end, all of the guitar tracks lends itself to sounding better at the end of your mix. I'm kidding. You're not an asshole, but what are you doing listening on your phone? So I have this controlling the palm mutes, the low end, the chugs, the woofs on all of the guitars. And I have that on both sides. So let's hear them together. I meant to turn off the effects. So that's what we'll do. On and then off. So you can hear it really kind of tightens things up. Now it looks like I have a lot on the bus, and I'm kind of just duplicating some of the things I did on each individual track, and then just some real deliberate and specific kind of moves here. So First, I have that Pro MB applied to the bus. It's also controlling the low end. You add two woofy palm mutes together, you're going to want to control the low end. So I have Pro MB on each track, but also on the bus. And we'll be able to see that it's doing something. Now, a lot of you bedroom guitar players are probably thinking, wow, it sounds ballsier and beefier and fatter, and there's so much low end, and it sounds so much cooler when it's off. Well, you got bass guitar and you got kick, so you got to create space for that stuff. Of course, on its own, with all that woofiness, it sounds really cool, but it's not going to be useful in the mix. So we have that, right? And then I have this Pro MB just controlling very deliberately the specific spot where some of that woofy palm mute is. Cool. I'm using the SSL channel strip. And let's see, what did I end up doing here? I don't totally remember. I might not have done anything. So we're going 0.3 dB at 8K, so like minuscule. 0.2 dB at 2K. That's something I usually will go for, is a little bit of a boost at 8K and 2K, maybe control the 4K area, which is where some of the whistly frequencies are being notched out. Just because I find it brings back some of the life into the guitar. You know, you're trying to roll off a lot of that high end, you might lose some of the excitement. So this is a way to kind of, I don't know, you know, meet it halfway. I am rolling off the lows at 60 hertz. I think I do have a little bit of compression happening. Let's see here. It's very, very subtle. It is doing some compression, just a little bit. You can see it just flickering on down there. And then here's the last little notch, kind of muddy. Sounded a little muddy there, so I got rid of some of the mud, and then I'm rolling off some of the extra low, the useless low end in the guitar. So let's see what that's doing. I can barely hear it in these things, and these are very sensitive. To me, and I'm pretty sure I was listening mostly in the mix, this little notch just helped. It helped. It's not very noticeable. And again, it's the combination of all these subtle moves that kind of get you to where you want to go. So that's the guitar bus I have. I mean, it looks like a lot, but I'm telling you, it's not that much. These are it's pretty minimal processing I'm doing on these helix tones. So let's listen to a different chunk, see what kind of effects I did on some of the other areas. So this particular part has more of a low gain tone to it, and I supplemented the like impact part of this chorus, if you will, with the heavier guitar tone, so you can hear what's happening here. Bring these back in. So just to get rid of that. And we could probably get away with it there, but because the bass is so gnarly, but I thought it sounded better. with the supplemental guitars. Just breathing a little bit, you know, it's better. More guitars is better. Let's listen to these clean parts. So this guitar in particular, just a note. A pre-bend type of note. Then I have it running into analog delay. Well, you know, there's a send. Let's see what this one is. Oops. This one. That's a pretty gnarly helix patch I have, and then I'm just boosting kind of the high end here. What am I doing? I'm rolling off low end. Am I boosting? Boosting some 8K, 3.5K. Doesn't seem to be doing anything there. Nope. And I'm compressing it pretty heavily, at least heavier than the other stuff. It's off right now. On. So it's kind of squashing it, and then I think I'm compressing it even more with the fat channel PreSonus. Just kind of slamming it, and then I'm also setting that to the analog delay. Turned out pretty cool. And then in the mix, it's subtle. It's tucked back in there. Let's look at these clean guitars. So this one is leaning on just the helix patch for the most part, and then I'm kind of slamming it, I bet. Not too much. You can see it's a stereo track, so this is essentially just the helix patch and then compression. And then I have some kind of reinforcement here. So this is the left side. Compressing it, the right side. A little EQ too to this one. Probably was a little too bright. Oh, I'm doing it to both sides together. But to me, what really makes that part of the song is the bass. So let's listen to it all together. Just a real kind of clean, bright-ish, just a punchy bass tone, very clean. And I always kind of preach this. It's about the bass and the guitars working together. And it's something I try and think about when I'm writing. So I really feel like this is just a good example of how I try to make things complement one another. And so the movement of the bass in conjunction with, the cymbal work, I, I like the part. Um, like processing wise, we're not going to learn too much more, but we'll go over each piece. So you can see, and this is something I do in many of my compositions, is layers. Got lots of layers happening here. So let's listen to what this is. And a preemptive apology. The heat is about to kick on. I know it's April, so sorry. It's going to be some ambient noise. Cool. So let's listen to these pieces. So the main part, the movement, is this riff. So I got Pro MB, and look at, I'm missing a plugin. And then sometimes that happens. Yeah, sometimes stuff gets through. So this is what I had this EQ on here. It might be lending itself to making this part sound better. We have a different EQ kind of curve on the right side versus the left, and it could be creating some sort of like stereo width type of thing happening here. So happy accident, right? Very strange. But that pickup is the coil split on my Solar guitar, so it was a little punchier, a little brighter. So there's that. Touch on the bus real quick. It's going to be the same stuff. Pro MB, the Pro Q3 controlling the palm mute, and then that same SSL doing the same kind of very minuscule tweaks and some compression. So then the chunk part is this, and this has all the proper EQ and stuff. So there's Pro Q, cutting out that whistle, and Pro MB, the same as all the other rhythm tracks. So if I was to turn off this processing, let's see how this would sound. Already way woofy, way too much low end. that would consume your mix. So I am justified in my moves. And then the last part, something I like to do, is just some creepy ambient stuff in the background. And you can hear we have a definite lo-fi kind of thing happening. And there's my lo-fi EQ curve right there. Now I do that because it's background stuff. I don't want it to be jumping up front. So you bring those all together. And again, the bass is such a pivotal instrumental part of this. Here's that ear candy. Talk about ear candy, many videos. So with the ear candy, and then I'll do it again without the ear candy. It's a reverse cymbal swell and a sub drop that I stole from a famous band's album. Now without. It's still a cool transition, but the cymbal swell and the sub drop, you know, adds some life, breathes some life into it. So what other guitar trickery did I do here? Same stuff there, same stuff there. Clean bards again. So this tone is straight out of the HX Stomp, Helix HX Stomp. One of my favorite clean tones. Turned out super good, and I didn't have to do much to it in the mix. And then, of course, we have those creepy ambient parts in the background. Simple. And then we're going to go into the solo, and we'll talk about that after. So this part, same thing as all the other rhythm channels. Each individual guitar channel just has this notch here, Pro MB to control the palm mutes. And then the bus, again, Pro MB, a little bit of that fine-tuned control of the palm mute, SSL, boosting 2K, 8K just slightly, a little bit of compression. And that's the rhythm tone underneath the solo. And the solo itself is pretty much, I got the fat channel on here doing some pretty heavy compression, and then some EQ, which is cutting some of the super high end stuff, a little bit of boost in the upper mids, and then rolling off some of the low end. So I'll leave it on the compressor and you can see what it's doing. So let's hear what it's, when I turn off that delay, if it's having a huge effect or not. It's pretty subtle. It's just some reinforcement. It just helps bring it up in the mix. And guitar-wise, that's pretty much it, guys. In the next video, I'll go over the helix patch that I used for this stuff that ended up on the Detra Cortina EP. Again, thank you guys so much for those of you who have supported me and that project. It's called Detra Cortina. The 4-track EP is now live everywhere music is streamed, and it's also available on Bandcamp. Thank you again to those of you who have already purchased it and shown some support. It really does mean a lot to me. I think it's some of my best music. I would love if you checked it out. Links will be down in the description below. I really, really appreciate it. Special shout out to those of you who are still with me over on Patreon, and of course here as members on YouTube. And you know, the best way for you guys to support me and the channel, what I'm doing here, is to check out the music I have available on Bandcamp, and of course streaming everywhere music is streamed. I have music under my name, Nick Hill. I have music under Detra Cortina, which is this project, my newest project. I have music under the band Wells, which is my project with me and Stephen Barton from Close the Hatch. We're working on new music, really stoked for that. Big plans for that band this year are in the works. And yeah, all the links are down below in the description below. Apologies for my absence, trying to get back into the swing of things. It's a long story. I'll drop a behind the scenes pretty soon here to get you guys all caught up in what's going on with me and my world and my life and what's going on in my head. So anyway, thank you guys for your patience. We'll see you in the next one. We'll check out the helix patch for Detra Cortina in the next video. Until then, take care of yourself, be useful to someone, and we'll see you in the next one.